the World Healing Tour movement with your host, Noah Crane. Heal yourself, heal the world. Hello, and welcome to the World Healing Tour podcast, where our mission is to help you heal yourself so you can heal the world. Hi, my name is Noah Crane. Each week, we will bring you tips and tools and inspire you to live your most empowered and joyful life. I'm also the author of the book. It's a self-help book called The Grass is Greenest Where I Am, because the grass is greenest where you are when you say so. When you choose to live in a place of no comparison, no competition, and no scarcity. When you choose to live in your own love and light and share your unique gifts with the world, because we're all unique. Recently, I've also published a second book. It's an anthology with 18 other incredible authors called The Grass Grows Where I Am. It's such a beautiful book with so many inspirational stories. And we became #1 sellers on Amazon with this book. So please check it out. The Grass Grows Where I Am book. So inspiring, so amazing. So how do you heal yourself? We heal ourselves by impact, by connecting with each other, by collaborating with each other. And that's why it's called World Healing Tour. Because when we do our own work and our own healing, we're able to create that ripple effect in the world to help others heal as well. Each week, I bring incredible people into studio to help pour into you and to help you on this journey, because we all 100% need each other. My guest today, I'm super excited about. Her name is Alla Esther Levy, and she's the creator of Recognize and Manage Your Level of Crazy method, a practical approach that helps leaders and teams transform stress and burnout into clarity and results. Alla is a socially conscious leader of emotional intelligence strategist and the visionary behind EIEQ Institute, a global movement dedicated to helping people and organizations from reactive crazy to proactive crazy, emotionally, spiritually, physically, and strategically. I'm so excited to have you here, Esther. Welcome to the World Healing Tour podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here. Congratulations on your book. You've come such a long way. I know we've known each other for a while. I've been watching you, and congratulations, really amazing.
Thank you so much. You know, I really appreciate that, because I know how much farther we go together. And so I've written my first book, and that was a great accomplishment in itself, right? You're an author as well, so you know it's a great accomplishment. But there's something like magical about doing it with other people and just pushing each other together. And there's just such power behind when we get together as leaders, right? You leaders with other leaders. It just makes such a huge impact, like such a bigger dent in the healing of the world and the healing of each other. So I really enjoyed this project because I'm running with 18 incredible people that are really committed to the healing of this world. And I love your work. I think your work is incredible. I mean, I'm reading your bio, I'm going through your stuff. I mean, it's like such needed work. Emotional intelligence, right? Something that is not easy for most people. Why do you think, first of all, are we naturally, let's start with this, are we naturally emotionally intelligent, or is it something that we have to learn?
So that's a great question. You know, and I didn't create emotional intelligence, let's be clear. I am just I would say, an advocate of emotional intelligence because it's helped me so much. But I am the creator of the Level of Crazy formula. And so I would say that everyone has definitely the potential of raising their emotional intelligence, and that's the idea, is to really understand that is the that is really the goal, is that we can continue to recognize and then manage our level of crazy, and that's the idea. But do people naturally have it? Some do, some don't. I think people that are much more, like you have empaths, people that are a little bit more sensitive, you know, like we're Pisces, right? So we're a lot more sensitive. We're naturally connected to certain things. And so people might say, oh, you're too sensitive, right? Like I know I get labeled too sensitive, you know. My friend said there's no such thing. You know, a therapist told her once, there's no such thing. And,
That's not validating your feelings. If you're telling somebody, oh, you're too sensitive, it's almost like brushing it off, you know, because feelings are valid.
Right. And I think the reason they're saying you're too sensitive is because they want to mask or they want to avoid taking accountability for being hurtful. So, that's why I say I think those of us that are more sensitive, yes, could we be overreacting? Yes, we could definitely be overreacting. But I think that most of the time we're overreacting from a gut instinct, something, this is something that I'm now learning how to really just accept, is that I don't just wake up in the morning and decide to go on the street and be overly sensitive or be over emotional or lash out at people. I am just wanting to live my life peacefully. And what happens is when you're in environments, whether we're at home with a spouse or children or family members or friends, colleagues, coworkers, whatever, we all have triggers, right? And so these triggers do their thing, and then we respond to the triggers. And I heard something amazing the other day, and I'm sure most of the people that probably listen to this podcast probably already know this, but you're really dealing with nervous systems. You're not dealing with humans, So if we saw each other as like a nervous system, then we know that every nervous system is operating from its own trauma, from its own
past.
Yes, its own blockages, its own stuff. And so it's not easy to constantly be, let's just say triggered or whatever it is, and to work through it within every second, every minute, you're trying to work through it. And sometimes you just can't, because the environment that you're in could be also hurting as well. And so you do need to find that space. So I think to answer your question, we all have the capacity to increase our emotional intelligence. And some of us, unfortunately, grow up with less because of our trauma and what we've been exposed to. So we somehow suppressed our intuition. We suppressed our sensitivity. We learned how to navigate our dysfunctional environments. And therefore, what I'm finding now is that as we get older, we just can't take it anymore. Our nervous system has been tapped out. And so now we have to we either lash out or we have to continue to train that muscle so we don't lash out. We just know how to, in a healthy way, react properly.
Or communicate properly, right?
Yes.
Because
yes.
What I noticed, and I grew up more emotional as well, and sensitive, and definitely emotional. I think everybody's sensitive to a certain degree, even if they don't admit it, right? But we can drown in our own emotions, right? Because emotions can be very overwhelming, and it's our own work. We have to learn how to process our emotions, and I think the most important thing that I see with emotions is that when we react from a space of desperation, or we react from a space of scarcity, or a place of not from a healthy space. So I just feel like when we act from an emotional place, we're not always making good decisions. So I feel like the emotional intelligence is probably a step back into yourself and being able to process it properly so we can come across the way we want to be perceived and communicate our needs and our wants in a more positive light.
Yeah, no, totally. There's just so much to say about that. Absolutely. Yes, that's all I can tell you.
Yeah.
There's just so much. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to, when you're overwhelmed with emotion, like when you're dealing with something in life and you feel just this, what is that word? I had it just a little while ago. Despair. You feel like total despair. and you feel alone, and you feel like, you know, you're not alone, because you know that there's a whole world of people out there, and everybody's dealing with something. And probably what you're dealing with is probably not that bad, but because you're in your own stuff at the moment, all you can see is dread. And it's hard. It's hard to step out, and you know, that's when reaching out to a friend, or if you're able to do something of service, if you're able to just stop for a minute and just work on service, you know, maybe go do something outside yourself, maybe pick up some trash. Like, let's say you don't even want to deal with humans at the moment, but maybe like go safely, not go pick up trash and get yourself a disease. No, but like, you know, do something for humanity so that you're stepping outside of yourself, so that you can regain some composure. And then definitely ask for help. And that's something that I know I've been working through a lot, is really reaching out for more help, and realizing that as strong as I am, I still need friends, I still need community, I still need support. And that's really, really important.
100%. I mean, I feel like we all need each other. And so many of us are alone and feel alone because it's a big world, you know? And unless you're really connected to a community and connected to the right people, you're gonna feel alone sometimes. And what you were saying before, like everybody, it's so funny because when I went through things, or when I go through things, I know other people are going through it too, because I wouldn't be going through it, because we're all human, right? We go through different things. It's all about learning how not to also self-sabotage as we're going through it. And would you say emotional intelligence comes in to that kind of place of not self-sabotaging yourself and staying in control?
Yeah, for sure. You know, those people that have a high emotional intelligence, they are usually able to just, you know, it's all about self-regulation, self-awareness, self-regulation. So if they're able to, number one,
Let's
see.
talk about both of them. Let's talk about self-awareness, and then let's talk about self-regulation.
So
what's self-awareness? Let's start with that.
So in my book, I talk about what I call.
Show your book.
Yeah.
What's the name of your book?
So Level of Crazy,
Level
like
of
an
Crazy.
a-hole,
Yeah.
like an a-hole. Everybody has one.
So where did you come out with the name Level of Crazy?
So Level of Crazy came out because the concept came out after I learned about emotional intelligence from a Tony Robbins seminar that I went to. And I was like, oh my God, this is something that I have been searching for my whole life, you know. Oh my God, this is amazing. This is meant for me, right? Who hasn't said that, you know, going to a workshop or a conference? This is for me. He's talking to me. She's talking to me. And I got back home from that trip, and a couple months went by. I shared emotional intelligence with my work and did some workshops at the office, and they loved it. And eventually I realized this concept of the two crazies that were inside of me, the reactive crazy and the proactive crazy. And so
the
reactive crazy is anytime when we are feeling sad, depression, lonely, reactive, all the negative feelings, off balance.
Negative emotion.
Yeah. And the proactive crazy is all the good stuff, is when you feel alignment, when you feel joy, when you feel just
Peace.
Certainty, peace, all the good stuff, right? But you can also consider it in the sense that like crazy good, right? When someone says, oh, you know, she's crazy funny, or she's crazy creative, or she's crazy amazing, whatever, right? So it's really a play on words in terms of like crazy good, crazy bad, that type of thing. But I coined those phrases, reactive crazy and proactive crazy.
I love that.
Yeah. And
so you were talking about the awareness.
Yes. So in the book, I created a concept called the ASS protocol. And it's really a play on words in the sense that it's, you know, wake your ass up. So the ASS is awareness, strategy, serenity. And so awareness is becoming self-aware, is really recognizing what's going on. What is those feelings? What is happening to me right now? Why am I so overwhelmed? And then there's a couple steps there, about scanning the body, being able to breathe and count, just to calm yourself down, and regulate a little bit. And then strategy moves into, okay, what do we do now? And that's when we really have to stop and listen. What should we do? Should we call a friend? Should we, go and do some service? Should we take a walk? Should we do some art? Should we listen to some music? Anything to help us re-regulate.
So it's taking action.
Yes, it's
to be able to get out of our own way.
Exactly. And then serenity is about giving gratitude and thanking the crazy. Thanking the crazy, really being gratitude of the lessons, because we know, from a spiritual perspective that we're all here to learn, right? And sometimes that's a really hard pill to swallow, I'll be honest. Sometimes when I'm struggling, I don't believe it. I don't believe in all the things that I want to believe in, because it is so hard and it does feel so lonely.
Well, it can feel so lonely.
Yes.
Because we isolate ourselves sometimes.
Yes.
Would you say?
Yes. Yes. I think that when we're not doing well in life, we tend to isolate because we feel inadequate. We don't feel good enough.
We beat ourselves up. We make it like our fault, and and we can fall into like the victim mode too. So it's very easy because we're human beings. We have human emotions. So one thing that I've learned, Esther, with myself is when I'm going through things, I'm very good at forgiving myself. I don't hold on to things for too long. Like anything that I do, I just forgive myself right away. And that really has helped my healing, because I don't let myself beat myself up. Because I realize it's counterproductive, and it doesn't help my healing journey. So I've learned to just let it go, forgive. And I always say, we can fall off the horse. We're human. We're all going to fall off the horse. None of you are going to stay. We're all going to fall out, including us here. We all fall off the horse, but it's how fast can we get back on the horse, right? Do we stay down there for a long period of time, like we used to when we were maybe younger, or when we didn't have the tools we have now with emotional intelligence? Or can we, be down and make a choice, right? To get back on the horse and not stay down there for too long. So we're all going to go through things, but it's about the awareness, right?
Yeah.
Of like, hey, I'm in this space right now. I'm going to forgive myself, and I'm not going to stay there because I'm committed to bigger things.
One thing I want to say goes back to how we're all going to fall off the horse. This is something I learned when I studied Kabbalah. I still study Kabbalah. I love the wisdom, which is that we're all here to react. We're all going to react. So just to set people free, something that I offer to people when I do a workshop or I, talk to a client, I'll always say, we're here to react. That's the idea. And our job is to be proactive, is to learn how to get back on the horse. And that's the part that's not always easy. And I love what you're saying about self-forgiveness. I think that, we're so busy. I think for me, I'm so used to forgiving other people, but sometimes I forget to forgive myself. And, I'm probably my worst critic. I mean, how many people say that all the time? I am my worst critic. Nobody's beating me up over here. I'm doing it plenty for everybody, So yeah, I think that's such an important thing to do.
Yeah, and also when I was younger, I also used to reject, people rejected me as a child, because I was a little awkward, a little, not exactly the right fit. I was more of an introvert, so I didn't always fit in with most people, so they would judge. But then the worst part was I would reject myself, So part of beating ourselves up could also be like us rejecting ourselves. right? So learning to forgive ourselves and not reject ourselves, right? To accept ourselves fully, to love ourselves fully with all our flaws, with all our imperfections, because we're human, right? We're human. You're never going to be perfect. I'm never going to be perfect. None of us are going to be perfect. So it's about like loving our whole self, right? And it's like even more self-love. We have to continue giving ourselves that love and compassion because we give it so often to others, but we forget about ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, what you're describing is so important, so important. I have a tool in here that I talk about, the superpower, regaining your superpower. And, when we lose our way, what is the best way to just kind of regain that feeling of worthiness? And what is your superpower? Maybe you're a great mom or a great dad, or you feel really good at communication, or you're a great writer. Tapping back into your superpower,
I love that.
is so important, and it's a way to rebalance the nervous system.
And that's where, is that where proactive comes back in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's talk more about the proactive part.
Yeah, when you can become more proactive crazy. So yeah, tell me, what questions, what can I answer for you? What do you want to know?
No. So when you do you want people, do you think journaling is a good way to write down like your feelings, your emotions, and then like the solution and how you're going to be more proactive? Is that something you do to help people with that?
Yeah, journaling is another great tool. I talk about that as well. Absolutely, journaling can be very healing. And it's one of those tools that you don't need a human. If you just want to write down your thoughts and just kind of data dump into a beautiful space that is just for you, that can definitely be very healing. Yeah.
So let me ask you about something, because maybe a little off the subject, but I think it has to do with emotional intelligence, because I feel like everything does. So people have opinions, and a lot of people's opinions cause separation between them. Whether it comes to politics, whether it comes to all kinds of things, disagreements about different things, it causes separation. And it makes me sad, because I feel like it doesn't matter who you vote for. It doesn't matter what you like and what I like. What matters is we're all part of the human race. Let's put our differences aside. I'm not going to not like you whether you voted for this president or this president. But people are ready to cut each other's off, to hate each other, to unfollow each other, to never speak to each other, right? Because of their opinions about something. And, if how can people use emotional intelligence not to be separated by opinions? Because I feel like it destroys and creates so much conflicts in the world, because it's like whether the toilet paper, comes from the top or from the bottom, we can disagree about that all day. Who cares? You know what I mean? Who cares? If you like this style and I like this style and you don't like the way I dress, it doesn't matter. It's me. It's an expression of me. You have a right to have the freedom to choose what you want, to like what you want, to vote for who you want. Where have we lost that? Where we are causing so much separation? Does that have anything to do with emotional intelligence?
It does, in the sense that it's up to us to be able to catch that. Because here's the thing, my opinion, it is done by design. It is done to separate and divide, right? Divide and conquer. And so it's used to divide people, and that's part of the challenge, is that our job is to go above that. Our job is, the more we do have a higher emotional intelligence, the more we're able to see that that's a bunch of BS. For example, I was just speaking to a friend, and she had an opinion about one thing and I had an opinion about something else. She got very passionate about it, and I just was like, well, let's agree to disagree, because I don't live that way, and that's not something that's important to me. But I could see her love for me and her concern for me. And that's the part that kept me grounded, knowing that there's no point in getting mad right now because she genuinely believes that she's trying to do better for me. And so I said to her, let's just agree to disagree. Thank you so much for loving me so much. But I just don't live that way, and that's okay. And I love you, and thank you for your friendship and being there for me. And let's just stay focused on the things that we do agree on. And so, I wish that it was that easy. I wish that it was that easy to do it with our spouses and our kids and our relatives and our coworkers and everybody. I wish it was. But unfortunately, it's not, because we're human and we're all here walking a different path. And that's what makes it hard, is that we're all, we've all taken a different class, and we're all struggling.
We all had different upbringing, right?
Yes,
and I think it's
part of that.
A lot of our emotional intelligence comes from our trauma.
Yes.
What we've seen in our house. Did our mom overreact to things, or was our mom somebody that was emotionally intelligent and she took time to process? And seriously, if I could go back to some of the things that I've done as a parent, I would have loved to have the emotional intelligence that I have today, because you don't always have the tools, and that's part of the forgiving yourself, because it's not going to be perfect, but we always do our best when we have the tools to do it, and it's that commitment you have. And I know it's the commitment you have to change and to, and not to let those traumas and that past define you. And honestly, like between, my biggest teacher for emotional intelligence is my husband. We've been married for 30 years. My husband, Esther, I say has the perfect being. And when I say the perfect being, it's because he wakes up with a smile on his face. Okay, it's like the cutest thing, okay? I used to wake up grumpy, you guys, okay? He wakes up with a smile on his face. He doesn't bring his frustration and anger from work to the house. And he chooses to dance through life. He chooses to be happy and dance through life. He's been my biggest example in growth to emotional intelligence. He's been my teacher. And he has elevated me to be able to do the things that I'm doing today because he so believes in me, But we all need role models. You know what I mean? I feel like he's been my teacher. He's been my role model, which has been like such a gift, right? But we don't always have that. So we have to kind of find a way to find the tools to be able to do better, because being just okay with how we show up every day, and how we impacting other people, right? Because a lot of it is like, how are you leaving people when you touch them? Are you leaving them happier for the moments that you were spent with them, or are you leaving them in a more, lower vibrational space? And I think that's also emotional intelligence, would you say?
Definitely. I think that's part of why sometimes I don't ask for help, is because I don't want to put burden on people, and I want to leave them in a good state. I want to always be a giver, and I always want to bring value. And so I think that's part of our lesson as healers, because I consider us healers on some level, is that we want so much to heal the world. And when we have our own pain, it's like, I don't want to burden anyone with that. I'd rather just deal with it on my own, and, because I don't want to bring anyone down.
But you don't.
Yeah.
Because this is where we have to understand that we are healers and we are healing at the same time.
Right.
There's no separation of like being a healer and healing, because we're human. So we're going to go through our own challenges, through our own experiences, and we're going to heal through them, but we're still healers. And when I think about us as healers, is we're here to shine our light, to elevate the consciousness of the world, to bring more emotional intelligence to the world, right? To lift people, to leave them feeling good about themselves. And this is what we're doing. Just because we're going through our own healing journey, that's part of our growth, because as we're going through our own journey, we also get more tools to help others. So we don't just go through it for ourselves, right? We're going through it so we can elevate other people in the future as well.
Totally. That's what I was going to say is it's never in vain. If you really look back, like everything I've ever worked through or went through, I mean, Level of Crazy was founded on the concept of my own crazy. So this book would have never come out if I didn't have my own traumas and my own stuff that I deal with and upbringing. And even in today's life where I am, you know, my level of crazy. And so it's like now I'm using my own, I really created the book for me.
Yeah.
So I could deal with my own crazy and have a toolbox, you know, I call it a pocket guide. So I have my own little pocket guide that I can reference.
Is it an Audible as well, your book?
It's coming.
Okay, good. I love that. Are you going to read it?
No.
Oh, you should read it.
No, it was designed by the publisher, so it's.
Oh, okay. So
but it was harder picking the voice than it was dealing the editing.
I know. Well, in my book is an Audible.
Oh, nice.
Already this one, the grass grows where the grass is. Wait, the grass is greenest where I am. I have to think. The grass grows where I am. The grass is greenest where I am.
Yeah.
All right. So the grass is greenest where I am is already an Audible. The grass grows where I am is going to be an Audible read by the authors. Each author is going to read their own chapter, which I'm really excited about. But this book is very healing, and so if I go through a low period, I literally can listen to this book and get healed by the words because they're so uplifting. And in this book, I share everything that I do to bring you into a more flow state, because we all go through challenges. So how can we make decisions, which is emotional intelligence, right? That will keep us not being stuck, but will have us being able to move and flow forward.
Yeah.
You know? So I always connect breath as flow, and I connect water as flow, and time as flow, and gratitude as flow. So when you're connected to time, breath, water, gratitude, you're not stuck. You get to flow forward. So I talk a lot about, being able to flow forward in your life and tools that I've used to help me in life. So, I think books are amazing. And really, it shows that you've done so much of your own work to be able to share this incredible book.
Yes, I have still a lot more work to do.
Yeah, we all do. So let's talk a little bit more about your book.
Yes.
What are some tools you could share with the audience that's watching us today to have more emotional intelligence? What are some of the things you speak about? Maybe you want to share a story, or you want to share a few tools with them that can support them in their journey.
Yeah, so I think the biggest tool the main tool is the ASK protocol. The awareness, strategy, serenity. And what that is basically awareness, stop, breathe, count. And what that does is it makes you stop the reactive behavior. So whatever that is, maybe you're emotionally flooded, you're having a moment and you just want to maybe throw something, or you want to just really I'm going to say it, you want to punch somebody, or you want to really just go crazy. Stop, breathe, and count.
So can you demonstrate that?
Yeah, so
stop means?
So just stop. So basically just become aware of that you're going through something.
So feel the feeling in your body, everything, let's say.
Now, disclaimer, this cannot happen without practice. So this is something that we can't become aware if we're not practicing. It's kind of like, dig your, what do they say? There's a quote about, be ready for the flood before the flood happens, so prepare your food before there's a hurricane kind of thing. There we go. Hurricane.
Make a plan or plan to fail.
Yes. We have hurricane supplies, right? We have hurricane, pre-hurricane plans. Everybody's preparing. Everybody goes to the store, gets water, gets this, gets that. It's kind of like this. So self-awareness has to be cultivated constantly through meditation, through taking walks in nature, or any place where you take a walk and you can just learn to become more self-aware. This has to do with your intuition and things like that. I love taking walks in nature. That for me is so healing. So again, the more you practice that, the more you'll get better at that. So it's breathing, so stopping, take a breath. And I don't have a concept of breathing a certain way. Just stop. The best way you can. Stop, breathe the best way you can, and just count. Super simple. Count 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep going until you're no longer charged. And then if you want to go deeper, there's more steps in that step. The second part is strategy.
Yeah.
And that's the part that once you've now counted, let's just say to 100, and you've calmed yourself down, now you can say, okay, I'm ready to now find a strategy that, and I always describe it as, will give you long-term fulfillment, not short-term indulgence. And so, we all want a quick fix. And I admit, sometimes when I'm overloaded, I do too. Maybe that's screaming at somebody, maybe that's yelling, maybe that's throwing something.
Or a shortcut.
It's a shortcut, exactly. So we're all guilty of it, but the long-term fulfillment is really where it's at. And that's why we want to choose a strategy that's a lot more focused on long-term success. So that's when you just stop and listen. You just listen to your guidance. Okay, maybe it's calling a friend. Maybe you're thinking about doing something dangerous to yourself. Let's talk about that's, suicide being one of the highest right now for young people. You want to hurt yourself. You want to do something not good. Definitely the strategy is reach out to someone. Go somewhere to get help, even a police station. If you have no one to call, go to the police station, go to a hospital, go to a clinic, go somewhere and get help.
There's also emergency lines you could call.
Emergency lines, yeah. So
there's suicide hotlines. There's
suicide hotlines, yeah.
So there's tools out there for people.
Yeah.
It's just we have to kind of reach out for them sometimes.
You have to reach out, and that's why the awareness is so important. And again, sometimes we just can't because our nervous system is so overloaded. But there is a choice. There is something we can do to not go down the rabbit hole of hurting ourselves. That should be the last
self-sabotage.
Yeah, the last possible resort on any level, because there is no coming back from that.
Yeah.
And just to say that there are people that will be so impacted that we don't even realize. I had a friend from high school. She lost her son a year ago. To suicide. He was a young man in junior high, I think, or high school, being bullied and things like this. And the effect that it's had on their family. So if you're thinking about those kinds of things, think about maybe you're being selfish about yourself, and that's fine, but think about the impact that you're going to have on those other people. And maybe that'll help you get some help.
Well, sometimes when you're in that dark space, I think they don't see the impact because they're so caught up in their own problem. Because it's like tunnel vision.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
But I love what you're saying because the way I live my life is I'm always trying to look at the bigger picture. So when I make choices, I make choices based on the bigger picture. What is it going to do in the long term? How is it going to affect me long term? So I'm kind of seeing that in what you're saying.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, I get it. That's why I say you're in such despair that you can't even see that you're in despair.
Fight or flight.
Yeah, total.
Yeah.
And so that's what I mean about, maybe you can have just a glimpse. If you can tap into how that's going to affect the ripples of, I have another story. There was in my temple, There was a dentist that many years ago committed suicide. He took his own life. And the rabbi, they were friends, and the rabbi was just, he just couldn't, he was very upset. He was very upset about it, and he was really like affected by the fact that his friend couldn't reach out and just tell him how he's feeling. And I think this goes back to us not wanting to burden people. But if we can tap into, okay, just for a second, you know what? If I do this, this is going to affect all these people. And it's going to affect even people I don't know, because now we're all connected because of social media. And if you are on social media, that will affect all these people that we don't even know, that follow us. I'm sure I have people that follow me, people that follow you. I have no idea who they are. And I'm sure that we would affect so negative.
Our impact is huge.
Like terrible.
Yeah. And and when we realize that, and that's what I try to get my kids to realize, and I talk to them a lot about this, it's just a moment in time. It's a moment, right? When you see somebody on social media and you see a picture of a family all smiling and happy, it means nothing, and you start comparing, and that's why my book says no comparison, right? Because comparison is the biggest thief of joy. And so, we're always comparing, and we always think the grass is greener somewhere else, but it's not, and when we go through things, it seems like the end of the world. But the truth is, if you look at things in your past that you went through, you always get through them, and you always move forward, and it's a moment of low, and then you're going to have another moment of high, maybe a week later. So don't think that that moment of low is the end, because I think people can't see past that moment of low, that there's the next moment could be like a beautiful moment. So it's being able to hang on and not do anything anyways, any decisions we make when we're in a low place, whether it's desperate, depressed, sad, anytime we make decisions from those space, that's not a place of power.
Yeah.
And that's not a place that's probably emotionally intelligent in the long term for our life. So I think we have to put things in perspective, because we're focusing, as human beings, we hyper focus on the negative sometimes, when there's so much to be grateful for and so much positive going on in our lives, but we'll focus on the one thing that's not working.
Right. No, totally. And I think that also is learned behavior. I have to admit that I, have had many habits that I've picked up, from upbringing, and I'm not blaming anyone, because I think everyone's doing the best they can. Our parents did the best they could, so I'm not blaming anyone. I just think that, I definitely can see how I've picked up some habits that cause me to act out in certain ways that are just so not empowering. And I want to just say something about, because I don't want people to beat themselves up about, oh my God, now there's another thing to beat ourselves up about not being emotionally intelligent, right? So the thing is that I love what you said about forgiveness of self. And I think that that's a better way to see it. That if we're having a moment of reactive crazy, that we're just honest. Just be honest about it. Have the emotion, because your body gets affected too. Like, I know when I'm stressed, I get really tight and it affects my physiology. And so just accept it. Accept that you're having a terrible moment. And then just work from there. And I'm going to work on the self-forgiveness. I think that is such a powerful reminder that, and then your energy will shift. And then you go up again, and then your EQ does grow and it does rise up. So I want us to be able to stay in that space, so it's okay.
Yeah, and I think a part of it, I don't know if you talk about this at all, but what's really helped me, okay, so, they say the heart is the second brain, right? And so I have a very big heart and I'm very connected to my heart. I live in my heart. I don't live here. Okay, most of the time I live right here. Now, I don't make decisions from here. I make decisions from here because my head's above my heart. So I don't want to like make decisions with my emotions or my heart because then I'll probably make the wrong decisions. So I think with my head, but I choose to live in my heart, if that makes sense. So I can come from that place of love and compassion and kindness to everybody around me, but I live in that space. So I give myself permission to live in a place of heart and love, and to be surrounded by that water. We're Pisces, right? Be surrounded by that water, by that love that we are, right? We all are love. And then and that's the biggest thing, like, to get out of our head, because being in our head is being in a bad neighborhood, and to bring the energy down to our heart where we can live more peacefully and happier and more joyfully. So I've learned to really move the energy from my head to my heart by learning to really connect to my heart on a regular basis, right? With forgiveness, right? With compassion, with kindness, right? But again, what we talked about, it's a practice. It's not something that is automatic. It's something that we have to practice and to get better at. And as we do more, like you said, make a plan or plan to fail, or however you say it, we have to practice, make the plan so we can be successful. And if we fail, it's okay. You forgive yourself and you try again. And you forgive yourself and you try again. I mean, any successful person has failed a million times before they become successful. So that's normal, and we just make it such, even like relationships, right? Let's talk about relationships. People get divorced and they beat themselves up for divorce. And I think it's just another relationship that didn't work out. It's not about like if you got divorced once or twice or 3 times, it doesn't matter. It's just the relationship didn't work out. It's just like you dated before you got married, right? And now you got married. So it's just a different kind of thing. But people put labels on things, and it's not about the label. It's like, it doesn't matter if we put too many labels on things that help us beat ourselves up. I think that's what it feels like a lot out there,
Yeah. I think, relationships is, it's a good topic because it's, there's so much in it, right?
Yeah.
There's so much in it. And talk about level of crazy. And it's not just romantic relationships with your spouse, or someone you're dating. It's relationships in general.
With yourself.
Yes. Most important relationship. But I think with relationships, it's one of those things where everyone's wounded. Everybody is wounded. And it's so easy for us to feel hurt and then want to hurt another, because like they say, a battered person is always going to be the abuser, right? Like if you're abused, you're going to become the abuser.
Hurt people.
Exactly.
I always love that saying.
Exactly.
It's so true, right?
It's so true. And I think that's the thing, is that we're all wounded. We come from these traumas, and I think one of the healthiest things we can do is really just forgive ourselves, and then focus on just having compassion for the other person. And sometimes you may need some space, sometimes you may need to just get some space and reevaluate the relationship, reevaluate what is really happening here and how you can be in a healthier space together. And maybe that requires a separate space. Doesn't mean you have to break up. It just means that maybe you can't do this thing together at the moment because you're just both so wounded and so hurt. So I don't know. There's a lot of ways to have relationships now. I think every couple and every family has to think about that for themselves. But I think in general, relationships are just a really hot topic. They're just...
Oh, yeah. And I think the most important relationship is just the relationship you have with yourself.
Yeah.
Because when you're in a place where you love yourself, forgive yourself, accept yourself, then it's easier to be in your power when you deal with any relationship in your life,
Yeah.
So it's just stepping back into our power always, I think, that makes a difference. So we went through awareness, we went through strategy. What was the third one?
Serenity.
Let's talk about that.
So serenity is, once you've done the other two and you're in a balanced state, now you can really just give gratitude. Give gratitude for the crazy, give gratitude for the lessons, give gratitude for just all of it.
For this moment.
For this moment, the good, the bad, the ugly, and just completely be grateful, because there's always a learning, right? I always say, this God stuff, right? What if it's all fake, right? What if it's all made up? But it does feel better to live in this delusion than it does when you don't have it. And actually, recently I've stumbled upon some work that is now showing that science and spirituality is actually now, science is proving that spirituality is actually a very important tool to overcoming depression. It helps with grit. It helps with having more hope and a more productive life. You have more purpose, more meaning. So, so even if it's all fake, I think it still somehow makes you feel better about the world, and it does grow the EQ. And also gratitude. I think gratitude, nothing compares to gratitude.
It's huge. It's huge.
It's magical.
Yeah,
I talk about gratitude in the book. It's magical. It's something about the energy of gratitude. It's like the light and the dark can't be in the same space. So you can't, because I have the same thing about the grumpiness, right? I haven't fixed that just yet, but I'm still working on my grumpiness. But I do think that I'm a little bit in a transitional time right now, so my grumpiness has increased. But I will say that gratitude works in the way that you can't have light and dark in the same space. And I've yet to see that. I have yet to have a moment where I'm both grumpy and gratitude at the same time. It just can't stay.
It can't exist.
It can't coexist. And so I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that because gratitude is one of those things that is just so magical. And through gratitude, we become content, because I finish out the book with contentment. And how do you become content? And that is a product of gratitude and really understanding your purpose in the world and how to be able to cultivate that. So
it's a beautiful thing. So in I love your work, like I said. So you also have a test that people can take to see where they're at on the emotional intelligence scale, or whatever you call it. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the EQ archetype quiz. It's really fun. It's really lighthearted, and it's a really good gauge. There's a lot of assessments out there. I'll be honest. This is like nothing compared to some of those big, fancy schmancy assessments. But I'll tell you what, this assessment can give you, just in my opinion, just as much of a base as those other things. And it's shorter, it's quicker, it's more fun. So, it's free. You can go to the website, you can take it, and it gives you a really great idea of where you are on the EQ scale. And the truth is that, we can modulate. Sometimes when you're having a bad day, you might score worse. Other days you might score a little higher. But I think the point of it actually is to eventually get to a point where you're consistently scoring, at top levels. But again, forgive yourself. If you're not, it's okay.
Yeah, that's great. I love that you have that tool for people. Is there anything else you want to share, any other stories or tools that people can use to help elevate their emotional intelligence?
I would say just having faith that everything's on time. I have a mantra, which is, I trust my process. I trust my process. I trust my path. And that's something that, when I'm down and out and I'm having a moment of fear, I always just remind myself, I trust my path, I trust my process. And also there's something that I talk about is the proof in the pudding. Sometimes we're not able to see in the moment, maybe we're struggling for a couple of months or we're in transition or something's going on. And we need to be reminded that, yeah, but remember when you did that and that worked out, like what you were saying earlier. And I call that looking for the proof, the evidence, looking for the proof and the evidence, and remembering that everything will work out and it's all cyclical. I think a great way to see this is over the weekend I went and I played cards with some friends. We gathered some friends from my Baha'i community, the Baha'i faith. They're amazing people. And we were playing this card game. It was a Japanese card game. And the beauty about the Japanese culture is that everything for them is so with art and intention and beauty and just amazing. And so, of course, the card game was made out of little cards with poems, all kinds of poems on the cards. And the idea of the game is the person with all the cards wins. So what happened? Throughout the whole game, I was collecting all the cards. And at the very end, I lost my stack of cards. And the other person who was hating on me, teasing me, won all the cards. And so I was left with nothing and he was left with all the cards. And so we all, I brought up the fact that this is life. You win some, you lose some. You win some, you lose some. You up, you're down. You're up, you're down. And this is the cycle of life. And kind of like a flower, I made a post about it the other day, the life cycle of a flower is that it's born and then it goes through all the seasons, the winters, the rains, the ups and downs, and eventually it dies. And so, but what it's left with is the lessons and the growth and the transformation and all the stuff that, I think we don't even understand. I don't even try to pretend that I understand this existence. It's so beyond me. And I think staying in the I don't know is sometimes a little bit more healing than having like an arrogance that we know everything. All I know is that self-forgiveness, compassion, gratitude, that's all there is.
Yeah, and even being grateful for your challenges.
Yeah.
Be grateful for it. Like the challenges are good. That's your growth. Mm-hmm. If you were just comfortable all the time and everything was working out your way, you'd never grow. So the challenges you're going through, even in relationships, is going to bring you closer or take you apart, depending on what it's meant to be. But being grateful for the lesson and the growth in it is also probably emotionally intelligent as we're going through it, even through the hardest time. But it's all the way it needs to be, and learning to accept it is really powerful. Yeah. So our time went by so fast, Esther. How can people, I love your work, because, I said it again, I'll say it again. She's amazing. You guys check her out. She's an incredible human being too, and she's doing God's work here, seriously, God's work. How can people connect with you, work with you, corporations, how can they find you? So you can just look into the camera.
Yeah. So, all right. So I would say the best way to do it is go to my website. That's probably the simplest way. EIEQinstitute.com. And you'll find everything there. All my offerings. The book is there. My concept is there. Everything. So that's probably the easiest way. EIEQinstitute.com.
And take the assessment, right?
And definitely take the assessment for sure. Yes.
Awesome. Well, it's been awesome. I really enjoyed our time together, and we're connected. So I love that so much.
Thank you for reaching out.
Of course.
Thank you for being an amazing soul. You yourself are, I know we haven't spent a lot of time together, but I'm so glad that we reconnected. So thank you.
Yeah, me too. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. I want to thank you today for joining me on the World Healing Tour podcast. Until next time, remember to practice these 3 important elements that I always talk about. Element number one, every day remember to connect to your gratitude. Have a grateful heart and connect to your gratitude. When you're connected to your gratitude, you're connected to positive feelings and positive emotions. And therefore, drawing more positive people, things, and experiences into your life. Element number two, remember to every day ground in love and compassion. First, love and compassion for yourself, because we all need more love and compassion. And then share that love and compassion with others. The more love and compassion you put out in the world, the abundance of love and compassion you will receive back into your own life. And element number three, always know that you're not alone, even though it feels that way sometimes. This is a guided journey. I always say guided by God. So whether it's God, universe, higher power, whatever it is for you, know that when you learn to turn off the noise of others and the noise of the outside world, you can tap into your own inner compass and be guided on your journey. God will send messengers and messages just for you to help guide you. You just have to learn to listen. Until next time, my friends, have a beautiful week. Namaste. The World Healing Tour Movement with your host, Noah Crane. Heal yourself, heal the world.